It's BMG Radio. Mad, lethal, and kind of serious. Episode 4.
Are we recording?
Let's get to it. Brought to you by the Beard Movie Guy.
Are we recording?
Hi, the Beard Movie Guy, and this week on BMG Radio, I'm looking at some news, looking at some Batman stuff, and doing all the regular stuff in there too. Alright, so let's get to the news, top off. First off, I saw yesterday, as I was about to go to sleep, that they have decided, Fox has decided, to do a Lethal Weapon TV show. At least they're looking at doing a Lethal Weapon TV show. Now, if you've been watching, you know that I've just finished watching all the Lethal Weapon movies. I've watched them several times, probably about... The first one I know I've seen at least 8 or 10 times. And I've seen them all a bunch of times. And I love these movies. They're great fun action movies. They're good cop buddy films. And I don't even know how I feel about them making a TV show out of this. Like, it seems like they shouldn't do it. I don't know. It just seems like this is not something they should be doing. But at the same time, I don't know if I'd hate a reboot completely more like if they were doing movies. Because it's a TV show, it's a little bit of a different beast. It's a different animal. So I don't know if I'm going to hate this or like if I even hate the idea. I don't really love the idea. Nothing. It's not really grabbing me. It's more just like why? And then it's like, I guess that could work. I would like, if they're going to do it, I think a TV show might actually be better than just trying to reboot the franchise with acting in movies. Yeah, just because you could go different places on TV than you could in the movies, because you're not so stuck into that 2-hour story. But like, who are they going to get to play Murtaugh and Riggs? And it's just, I don't know. But yeah, let me know what your thoughts are. Okay, next, moving on, the Flash movie. Whoosh, gone, just like that. The Flash movie has found a director, and this is a guy I've never heard of before, except I've heard some of his work, but I've never heard of his name before. His name is Seth Grahame-Smith. And if you're like, who the heck is that and what has he directed? He's directed 0 movies. Buckus. Nothing. But he has written several things that have been turned into movies, such as Abraham Lincoln Vampire Hunter or Slayer or whatever that one was. And he's made, and he wrote a book called Pride and Prejudice and Zombies, which is apparently also being turned into a movie. So he's a really good writer on some level. I won't say really good. He can write. And they were talking that the guys who did 21 Jump Street were going to be doing Flash, but they got tapped to do a Han Solo film, so that's not going to happen. So they moved on, and so he's taking over. I don't know if he's fully writing it, but he is directing it. I don't know about Warner Brothers, man. They're giving a guy who's never directed a film a big superhero movie to do. Now, I know the Flash is not the biggest character in the world, but still, this, I don't know what they're thinking exactly. They must really like this guy, but we'll give him a shot. What else choice do I have? It's not like they're going to listen to me anyways, and I don't necessarily want the guy fired. I just maybe bring on a co-director, someone who's maybe directed a movie before, who might know what he's doing. I don't know. That might be good too. Next up in the news, there are 2 more Mad Max movies coming, at least, probably. George Miller mentioned it that when they were doing Mad Max, Fury Road, they took 15 years to make the movie because they kept on trying to start it, and then it kept on getting postponed. At one point, Mel Gibson was supposed to be Mad Max again. And over the years, it's just they'd written 2 other scripts while doing this that has to do with everything. So they already have those waiting, and it looks like they're going to be making at least 1 more, but probably 2 more Mad Max movies. What are your thoughts? Sounds good. Now, Miller did not say he would be directing these movies, but he will be involved in them. But I would prefer he direct them, but he is getting older. And he said the shoot for Mad Max was like 15 months of grueling stunts and hot days in the desert, and it's not necessarily something he's going to want to do every day again. But, if you're going to continue on with it, man, you better, make sure it's either done right or do it yourself. That's what I got to say. Last bit of news I had, Pacific Rim. I mentioned in my very first podcast that Pacific Rim 2 looks like it's being canceled. Well, Guillermo del Toro was like, well, I don't care if you say that. I'm going to keep trying to make the movie anyways. And so he's just chugging along, still doing everything he can to get that movie made. And this week he met with, and had lunch apparently with, Maisie Williams. Now, who the heck is Maisie Williams? Maisie Williams is Arya Stark on Game of Thrones. If you know Game of Thrones, you know who she is. If you don't, you're like, I still don't know who that is. Well, he met with her and apparently was so impressed with her that he was just like, bam, that woman's getting a Jaeger if she comes on and if we make a second movie and if, well, there's a lot of ifs there, but if she agrees and if they make the movie, she's going to be in it. She's going to be driving a Jaeger. That's pretty cool. And just big ups to Guillermo, who's just like, screw you, I'm going to make my movie regardless if you say I can or not. That's one of the reasons I love the man. But make Hellboy 3 too, please. Well, Hellboy 3 also. There we go. And that's it for the news. Now, I did have a request this week to talk about something a bit more in depth. And that is the Batman movies, and the new ones in particular, and where they're going with them. And will we get to see Robin and some maybe even the extended Bat family of Batgirl? And this was done by Dan or Mark Bardo. I can't remember. I think it was Dan that asked me this. I'm sorry, Dan or Mark and or. But you guys are kind of the same to me in a lot of ways, but different, but the same. But no, so he asked me to kind of talk about the fact that there's a whole Bat family. And to be truthful, other than the Batman and Robin movie, which I don't even like to admit exists, forget about that. They really haven't touched on a lot of the Batman mythos of what surrounds him. All they've ever touched on really since Nolan started was Batman and Alfred. Like, they've done the Lucius Fox and stuff, but they haven't talked about the rest of the whole family. And if you don't know, I'm going to give you a quick recap. Robin was made in the 1940s, and it was to try and get younger readers interested in Batman and also make Batman a bit more kid-friendly. He seemed a little dark to some people, so they gave him a kid sidekick. It was very normal for that to happen. He wasn't the only one who got one back in those days. Captain America had Bucky, and there was Submariner, and there was Submariner Kid. I don't know. It happened a bunch. Anyways, so Robin was born. And Robin was first done by a character named Dick Grayson. And Dick Grayson grew up as a kid being Robin, and then he turned into Nightwing, which you find out later. But so he was Robin, and then he was replaced by a guy named Jason Todd. And Jason Todd was Robin for a while, and then got the crap kicked out of him by Joker and was killed, and or not killed, but probably killed, and we'll get to that in another day. But and that was a big storyline in the Batman mythos. And there's thoughts that may be hinted at in the Batman vs. Superman movie. And I'm hoping it is. That's what the suit I talked about last time, and the Robin with this suit. Hopefully that's what they're hinting at, is the fact that Jason Todd was killed, or at least whatever they did to him. And so from that, they moved on to Tim Drake. Tim Drake, who was a bit younger. And Tim Drake took over the role for quite a while. And then in the Frank Miller comic, Dark Knight Returns, Batman gets a girl Robin sidekick named Stephanie Brown. Now in the comics, Batman's sidekick is Robin again, and Robin is Damian Wayne, who is Batman's son, which is a whole storyline they got going, how Batman has a son, and then Batman has to take care of him, and he's an assassin, and although he's like 11, he could kill like zillions of people, and so he kind of takes him under his wing, and he becomes the new Robin. So none of this has really been touched on much at all. Now, they kind of hinted at Robin in the Nolan universe, and I'm going to say kind of, because all it was a little nod of the hat. It's a tip of the cap. But there haven't been really too much real, solid, good storytelling to do with Robin and that part of the mythos of Batman. And so I am hoping that, especially with what they've confirmed with Batman getting more movies with Ben Affleck directing and starring, that at least one of these Robins, hopefully not Damian Wayne, but some of these Robins, one of them, I'm hoping either Tim Drake or Dick Grayson, shows up and isn't just this lame thing. Because Robin can be pretty awesome, and he's done a lot of cool stuff in the comics. He's not just a lame sidekick. They're called the dynamic duo for a reason. It's not just Batman and that guy who's with him. It's Robin pulls his own weight, let's put it that way. So I'm sincerely hoping that they work onto that and they get onto that and they merge that kind of as part of the cinematic universe of Batman. Alright, next up we're going to feed him my addiction. Okay, this is where I talk about what I've been buying lately, what I've been looking at, what I've wanted, all that kind of stuff. So I'm first going to start off by saying I am greatly disappointed. Amazon has no big Halloween sales, and by no big Halloween sales, I'm looking for some good sales. Something where it's like, buy these movies, buy 3 movies for $20, or buy these movies and you get $8 off. They got nothing. They're selling Halloween movies, but they're all $10 to $15. I'm not paying that for one Halloween movie. Give me a bunch of them for cheap, I will buy them. Walmart doesn't even have any display up. They don't even have anything. Now maybe they're waiting, but it's October. What are you waiting for? I don't understand. So that's bugging me out. And I haven't bought anything because of that. But I did get my Loot Crate this week. So I'm going to talk about it real quickly and show you some family photos of the people who've stolen my Loot Crate, because that's the way it works. Alright, so first up in Loot Crate. Number 1, it came late, which I'm not happy about. It didn't get there till like beginning of October, which is supposed to be like 28th, 27th of September. But besides that, it came in a nice small box, and the first thing it has is this super cool, awesome Pikachu hat, which I am styling for you. And yeah, it's cute. It's cute. It's cool. It's fun. It's cute. I don't know. I like it. My daughters will probably steal it, but I'm wearing it for now. Next thing it came with was this little car for and it's from the TV show Supernatural, which I don't watch, so this means nothing to me, but it's this cool little car that is the car that they drive in the show, and apparently they have since the first season, and they still drive it. But this is the special edition one that has the license plate from the first season, which isn't on there. I don't know, like, whatever. It's cool. It's a little car. The theme this week was summoning, so there's a lot of like weird kind of stuff. So there's this Buddha that's Homer Simpson. I don't get it, and I don't particularly care for it, but okay, so there's that. And the other 2 things is something to do with this thing called Hearthstone, or I don't know, Heart something or other, and it's a web thing or iPad thing, I don't know. But they had a squishy ball, which I'll show you here, and my daughter immediately stole that. My youngest Zion stole that, and yeah. It's cool enough, I guess. If you need a stress ball, I don't, all my stress balls get stolen. I just take my stress out doing this. And the other thing came with it was some kind of coin and card that my older daughter, Margie, will show you. And it's, again, I guess it's cool enough. They were both thrilled to get these things. Neither one of them know what they're from and don't care. They just think they're cool. Yeah. And that was mainly all I came with. So, again, a little underwhelming from Loot Crate, but still some cool stuff, and I got a Pikachu hat, so that's cool. And that has been feeding my addiction this week, because there's no freaking cool sales on Blu-rays. Anyways, now we're going to move to 60 Seconds of Awesome. And 60 Seconds of Awesome! This is where Bruno Movie Guy talks about someone for 60 seconds and tells you how awesome they are. Let's get to it. Today in 60 Seconds Awesome, I'm going to talk about a younger actor named Paul Dano. Now, Paul Dano has been acting since he was very young. You may have seen him in such movies as Looper, or when he was a bit younger, he was in Little Miss Sunshine. And recently, he was in Love and Mercy. And I literally just watched this. I'm going to be talking about it later. But he gives a fantastic performance in Love and Mercy. He is a really, really solid young actor. And I can't wait to see what he does in the next 10 years and what he comes up with, because he's got some acting chops, and he picks interesting roles. So I'm looking forward to what he does. I think he's pretty talented, and I think he's awesome. This is Bear the Movie Guy, 60 Seconds of Awesome. Let Bear the Movie Guy know who you think should be in 60 Seconds of Awesome, and he may put him there. Alright, next I'm moving up to YouTuber of the Week. YouTuber of the Week is the new thing I started last week, and I'm going for my buddy CP at Will I Like It Reviews, or Willy Reviews. If you don't know, CP is That's the short form for his name. His name is not actually CP, that's his initials, and that's what he likes to be called by, so I call the man what he likes. Anyway, CP, Will I Like It Reviews. This is a channel where he actually tries to say who's actually going to like this movie. He doesn't just say what he thinks, he actually says who is going to like this movie. So if it's Transformers movie, he's not going to first tell you what he thinks. He's going to say, well, if you liked these movies, you might like this one. If you didn't like these movies, you'll probably hate this one. And then he gives his review at the end of what he actually personally thinks. CP has been killing it for quite a while now. The guy is very talented, very passionate, and he also has been doing something called Horror Needs a Hero with Lee from Drum Dums, which I'll talk about another time. But he's just got a very dynamic channel, very interesting, very good guy, very solid person, and I like him very much, and he is my YouTuber of the week. Next up, we got Letterboxd. Letterboxd is where I talk about all the movies I've been watching since the last time I did BMG Radio. Okay, first up, I watched All the President's Men with Dustin Hoffman and Robert Redford. Yeah, that's it, Robert Redford. I was going to say Robert Downey Jr., but that's a completely different movie. If you don't know, this is all about the Watergate scandal and about the two guys who broke the Watergate scandal. And it's a very interesting, tight, taut movie. I don't know the whole history of that, and so it's really interesting. The only bad part about this is the ending. They kind of, because this is more about the characters and how their journey goes, they kind of really sum up the rest of the whole investigation into Watergate and what happened with Nixon and all that kind of stuff. So like right at the end of the movie, they're like, and they give you this whole massive amount of information. And it just seems a little anticlimactic, but the movie itself is really, really solid. And it's really, really kind of like grips you thriller. Trying to figure out what these guys are doing and like how they're finding out what happened. And no one else was really looking at it like they were. So, very solid movie. I give it 4 beards out of 5. Next, I watched Pride and Glory, which is a movie I've been waiting to see for a very long time and was kind of like, meh. It's got Colin Farrell and Edward Norton, and it's a cop movie about corruption. It's okay. It's okay. I never need to see it again. It wasn't bad in any way. Wasn't phenomenal in any way. Although there was some decent performances, particularly from Edward Norton. I give it 3 beards out of 5. Next, it was family movie night in the BMG household, and my youngest daughter, Zion, picked Planes from Disney. I never got to see this. This is the first time I'm seeing it. And it's fun. It's cute. Don't think about it in any real way, and you'll enjoy the movie. The minute you start going, wait a minute, how does this work with the... why do they need crops? It all falls apart. So you just enjoy it and watch it for the pretty pictures and the cute characters, and it's a good movie. I give it 3 beards out of 5. Next up was Dying of the Light. I had no idea what this movie was about. All I saw was the title and that it had Nicolas Cage in it, who I'm a fan of, even his crazy stuff. And he looks very old, and he's a guy that 20 years ago was tortured for the CIA, trying to give up information. He's been looking for this guy for 20 years who did it to him. Everyone else thinks he's dead. Now he's older, and he's got a brain disease that's stealing his memory and making him be erratic. But he gets information that the guy's alive, and he basically goes on one last mission to try and find the guy that tortured him and killed a bunch of people. It's interesting. It's got Anton Yelchin, who's a very good young actor, and he's kind of his friend who helps him along and gets everything he needs to go on this mission with him. I didn't know anything about it. It's interesting, but it's not a great movie by any stretch. I give it 2.5 beards out of 5. I never need to see it again. Next up, I saw a movie called Blindsided, which has a different name for some reason on Letterboxd, but I'm calling it Blindsided because that's the case I found. And it looks kind of like a remake of Wait Until Dark. Wait Until Dark was an Audrey Hepburn movie about a woman who had something in her apartment that these guys wanted that she didn't know was there, and she's blind, and they kind of terrorize her to get it. That's what this movie's about, basically. It's like a woman who's gone blind, and her boyfriend... She lives with her boyfriend, she goes out to get something, comes back home, her boyfriend's dead. She doesn't know that, she's walking around the apartment, there's a guy in there with a knife. And then he finally reveals himself, and basically they're looking for something, and she has to try and convince them she has no clue where it is and what they're talking about. And it's interesting, it's well filmed, the acting's good, has Michael Keaton in it. Yeah, It's good. I give it 3 beards out of 5. Again, not particularly memorable, but worth seeing. And lastly, I literally, just before doing this, finished watching Love and Mercy. And Love and Mercy is the story of Brian Wilson from the Beach Boys. Now, I didn't know nothing about Brian Wilson. I'll be honest, I don't really know much about the Beach Boys. I know some of their songs. I know Brian Wilson apparently had a meltdown at one point and weighed a lot and then stayed in bed for a couple of years. That's literally all I know, and that's mainly from a Bare Naked Lady song. So it was very well done. This is told from 2 perspectives. It's mainly told from the younger perspective, which is played by Paul Dano, and again, 60 Seconds of Awesome. And the older perspective is told by my mind just went south. John Cusack is his name. There we go. All right, so John Cusack plays the older version, and they're both very individual stories that are the same guy. It's like the one shows how he was a genius and started to unravel, and the one shows how he is being abused and finds somebody who kind of he falls in love with, and how she helps him get out of that by being just taken advantage of by a doctor that's just power tripping and doing terrible things to him. Movie is really, really well done. The performances are terrific. And I gotta give it 4 beards out of 5. It's very, very solid. I might go a bit higher, but it did kind of lose a bit because it kept on jumping back and forth, and that kind of annoyed me a little bit. If that doesn't bother you, you might think it's better. But yeah, that's what I've been watching lately. That is my Letterboxd. Now, I only got one question this week, which is fine, and it's from CP, who is my YouTuber of the week. And CP actually watched my video last week so fast that I didn't have a chance to annotate it, and he called me on it. So, thank you, buddy. Wow, yeah, you watched it quick. We'll see if you do it this week. Your question was, is there a movie that briefly or unfairly stereotypes Canada, for whatever reason, and if so, which one? Well, there's been a bunch, but not really. Most of the time, people just ignore Canada in movies, so it's like, whenever aliens converge, like Independence Day, Canada must have been left perfectly fine because they didn't bother us at all in any map. Most of the movies, like except Day After Tomorrow, where Canada's whole dead, basically. But most movies where it's globally scaled, Canada's ignored. Which is kind of annoying, but you know. We're Canadians are just always like, we're just like, when we get mentioned, we're like, yay, they mentioned Canada. Awesome. That's great. Like even Deep Impact. I watched that with my daughters, and they mentioned the fact that the second comet was going to hit Canada, and my girls went, yay! I was like, why? Because we just like being mentioned. I don't know, South Park, maybe. But not really. It's all comedy's sake. There's a movie called Canadian Bacon, which pokes a lot of fun at Canada, but in a good way. And so, nothing major. I think we just get ignored more than anything else. But that's about it. We don't really get, most people don't hate on Canada all that much. We're all hockey sticks and maple syrup and polar bears, and it does not always snow here. Like, don't show up in the middle of the summer with your skis. It's been done, trust me, don't do it. It's hot in Canada in the summer, most places. So that's it for my questions this week. So this has been BMG Radio episode 4. Now, before I say goodbye, I just want to let you know about something I found by accident, and I'm going to give away. So I mentioned last week that we watched Jurassic Park at my family at movie night, and as I was putting it away this week, I noticed that it had a digital copy. I had no clue it had a digital copy in there, but apparently it did. So I have a free digital copy of Jurassic Park to give away. So how do you get this digital copy? I'm glad you asked. Let me tell you. Number 1, you have to be a subscriber. So if you subscribed already, you're good. If not, subscribe. And then number 2, first person who says, I want Jurassic Park digital copy, please send it to me, I will send it to you. Now, unfortunately, sometimes these digital copies do not work in other places. My buddy Brian Lomax tried my Mad Max one in England and it did not work. That's not saying this one will not. It may, I don't know. If you're the first one again, I will gladly give you the codes and see if you can get it. But some of them don't work in Europe for some reason. I don't know why. It's stupid. They should be universal. But I can't do anything about that. So let me know, do you want my Jurassic Park copy? And thanks for listening. Thank you so much for listening to BMG Radio. I really enjoy doing this program. Let me know if there's anything you want to talk about, anything you want me to talk about, anything you think would make a great segment, any questions you have for me for the Q&A, any news you think that I need to talk about. And until next time, stay bearded. And as always, yotos every.